She spent over 10 years in a wheelchair, until a human fitted her with robotic legs. The first warning did not come from weapons. It came from a medical scanner. Deep inside a quiet frontier sector, a routine system alert blinked red for less than 1 second. Most species would have ignored it. The signal was weak, strange, impossible. But the system flagged it anyway. Human neural adaptation detected. That single line would later be blamed for the war. At the time, no one thought it mattered. Humans were everywhere in the galaxy, but never at the center of power. They repaired ships others abandoned. They traded in places too dangerous for polite species. They survived on edges. And they adapted. On the desert world of New Alexandria, the salvage yards were older than most civilizations that used them. Metal mountains rose from the sand. Wrecked battleships leaned like dead giants. Alien languages were carved into broken hulls, forgotten by their makers. This was where Taron Shivers worked. Taron was human, and that explained everything. He moved calmly through the wreckage as twin suns burned low in the sky. His boots crushed metal dust. His jacket was patched and scarred, like the ships around him. He was not important in any official record. But unofficially, he was very dangerous. Taron stopped beside a half-buried machine. Its surface flickered faintly. "A quantum stabilizer," he said to himself. "You shouldn't still be alive." The device pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Most species would have stepped back. Taron smiled. Humans had a habit of touching things labeled "Do Not Touch." He knelt and began working, fingers moving fast, instinct guiding him. To Taron, alien tech was not mysterious. It was just broken logic waiting to be fixed. "You are violating salvage protocol." The voice came from behind him. Taron did not jump. He slowly stood and turned. Floating nearby was an alien woman in a hover chair. Her skin was green, smooth, and softly glowing. Her violet hair framed a calm but alert face. Her eyes were not hostile. They were tired. "I'll put it back if you want," Taron said. "Eventually." She studied him. "You are Taron Shivers." "That bad, huh? You underbid on dangerous salvage. You ignore safety rules. You modify licensed technology." "Only the boring rules," he replied. "I am Nyra L'vari," she said, "inventory specialist." Taron's eyes drifted to her hover chair. He frowned. "That compensator is running too hot," he said. Nyra stiffened. "It was approved." "Approved doesn't mean correct." Before she could protest, Taron reached down and adjusted a small panel. The chair hummed differently, smoother. Nyra blinked. "It feels lighter." "Yeah," Taron said. "It was fighting itself." She stared at him longer this time. Most people saw her chair first, then they saw limits. Taron saw a problem to solve. Over the next days, Nyra found reasons to pass through the salvage yard. She watched Taron work. She asked questions. He answered honestly. She learned something about humans. They did not accept long-term failure. When she finally told him about the accident, her voice did not shake. 11 years ago, a gravity system failure, corporate shortcuts, no accountability. She never walked again. Alien doctors had said the same thing every time. "Impossible." Taron listened quietly. Then he said they were wrong. Nyra laughed, sharp and bitter. "They are not. They just didn't try hard enough." That night, in a small workshop built from scrap metal and stubbornness, Taron showed her his designs. Robotic legs, neural-linked, adaptive. Illegal. Dangerous. Human. "You could die," Nyra said. "So could I," Taron replied, "every day." She stared at the holographic legs, fear and hope fighting behind her eyes. For the first time in 11 years, hope won. The legs worked. Not perfectly, not at first. But humans did not stop at almost. When Nyra stood for the first time, she cried. Taron did not look away. What neither of them knew was that the moment her nervous system connected with human-adapted quantum code, something changed. The medical scanner alert triggered. Military systems noticed unusual patterns, neural signals evolving in real time, technology learning faster than it should. Humans were not supposed to do that. The situation became worse. Nyra was pregnant. A hybrid child. Something the galaxy had no rule for. Fear spread quietly through military channels. Meetings were held. Decisions were made. Humans had crossed a line. Not with weapons. With adaptation. As massive warships entered orbit above New Alexandria, Taron felt the ground vibrate beneath his boots. Nyra stood beside him, steady on her new legs. They're afraid, she said. They should be, Taron answered. Because the galaxy had finally learned something too late. When you push humans into a corner, they don't surrender. They evolve. And the unexpected war had just begun. When humans break the rules, the galaxy did not attack humans right away. That was mistake number one. Instead of firing weapons, they watched. Instead of declaring war, they collected data. Instead of stopping the problem early, they assumed humans would fail on their own. Because that is what usually happened. But humans did not fail. They adjusted. Inside a quiet salvage yard on New Alexandria, no alarm sounded. No warning lights flashed. The galaxy expected chaos. What it got was calm. Taron Shivers worked as if nothing had changed. He stood in his workshop, tightening a panel on the robotic legs while blue light washed over the metal frame. His movements were steady, focused, human. Across the room, Nyra stood on her own feet. That still felt unreal. She shifted her weight slowly, testing balance. The legs responded instantly, not just to movement but intention. The machine felt like part of her, not something attached. Your center of gravity changed again, Taron said without looking up. Nyra raised an eyebrow. I took 2 steps. You thought about turning, he replied. The system felt it. Alien engineers designed machines that followed commands. Humans designed machines that learned people. That difference scared the galaxy more than any weapon. Military satellites in orbit tracked energy spikes coming from the workshop. Not violent spikes, adaptive ones, code rewriting itself, neural signals strengthening instead of degrading. This was not normal. This was not allowed. In a command room light years away, officers stared at the data in silence. Humans are bypassing safety layers, one said. No, another replied, they are removing them. Why? Because they slow things down. Back on New Alexandria, Nyra sat on a workbench while Taron reviewed diagnostics. His brow tightened. You're pushing the system too hard, he said. I stood for 11 years in a chair, she answered calmly. Now I walk, I won't stop. Taron exhaled. He understood that kind of stubbornness. Humans respected it. What Nyra did not see was the alert blinking on Taron's screen. Unauthorized surveillance detected. He shut it off instantly. They're watching, he said. Nyra's posture straightened. Who? Everyone who doesn't like losing control. The galaxy believed rules existed for a reason. Humans believed rules existed until someone proved them wrong. That night, Taron did something dangerous. He opened the core code. Alien systems locked it, restricted it, limited it. Humans asked one question instead. What happens if we let it grow? The quantum processor responded instantly, rewriting pathways, adapting faster than predicted. The legs became smoother, stronger, smarter. Nyra took a step. Then another. Then she laughed. The sound echoed through the workshop, bright and alive. And somewhere in orbit, a military system classified the sound as a threat. The next morning, a message arrived. Official polite cold. Cease all unauthorized development immediately. Transfer technology for review. Compliance is mandatory. Nyra read it once, then deleted it. They think we'll hand it over, she said. They think humans still ask permission, Taron replied. He began preparing. Not weapons, not shields. Plans. Backup systems. Hidden power routes. Old salvage ships wired into defense grids. Machines that looked dead but were very awake. Humans learned long ago that survival was about preparation, not strength. That was when Nyra told him. She stood in the doorway, hands resting lightly on her abdomen. My medical scan was strange, she said. Taron looked up. I'm pregnant. The room went silent. Hybrid pregnancies were rare, almost impossible. Taron's first reaction was not fear. It was understanding. Of course, he said quietly, the system adapted. Nyra nodded. The doctors don't understand it. They won't, Taron replied. They don't think like humans. The galaxy panicked when the report reached high command. A child that combined human adaptability with alien biology. A neural signature already affecting machines before birth. This was not evolution. This was acceleration. Orders changed. Observation became containment. Containment became retrieval. Retrieval became force. Warships altered course. When the first military cruiser entered low orbit, the ground trembled. Nyra felt it through the legs. They're here, she said. Taron activated the yard's old systems. Rusted hulks came alive. Salvage drones repositioned into defensive patterns. The galaxy expected fear. They got resolve. A transmission cut through the air. Human Taron Shivers, power down immediately. Taron didn't respond. Instead, he took Nyra's hand. Whatever happens, he said, we don't give this up. She squeezed his fingers. I learned that from you. As the warships locked targeting systems, something unexpected happened. The quantum processor surged. Not violently. Intelligently. It adapted to the pressure. The machines listened. The yard responded. The galaxy had come to enforce rules. But humans had already moved past them. And this time, breaking the rules was not rebellion. It was survival. And survival was something humans did better than anyone else. The day the galaxy felt fear. Fear did not spread through the galaxy like fire. It spread like silence. One system stopped responding. Then another. Then a third. No explosions, no screams, just systems behaving differently. Military analysts stared at their screens in confusion. Defensive grids adjusted themselves. Tracking algorithms rewrote their own logic. Machines were learning faster than allowed. And all signals pointed to one place. A human salvage yard. On New Alexandria, Taron Shivers stood completely still as warning lights flickered across his workshop walls. He did not panic. Humans rarely did when panic was expected. Panic wasted time. Nyra stood beside him, balanced perfectly on her robotic legs. Her posture was calm, but her senses were sharp. She felt the change before the alarms confirmed it. They've locked onto us, she said. Taron nodded, I know. Above them, military cruisers hovered in low orbit, their shadows passing over the salvage yard like slow-moving predators. Any other species would have already surrendered. Humans did not surrender to fear. They studied it. Taron tapped a few commands into his console. Old salvage drones powered up. Dead ships whispered to life. Systems built from scrap and stubbornness aligned into a quiet defense network. "You built all this in secret," Nyra said. "I built it in case," Taron replied. "Humans don't trust peace to last." A transmission cut through the air, cold and clear. "Human Taron Shivers. You are ordered to power down all adaptive technology immediately." Nyra felt something shift inside her. Not fear. Anger. "They're not asking," she said. "They never do," Taron answered. The message repeated, then changed tone. "You are in possession of restricted technology and an unregistered hybrid life form. Non-compliance will result in forced extraction." The word extraction echoed in the room. Nyra's hand moved instinctively to her abdomen. "Our child," she said softly. Taron turned to her, eyes steady. "No one takes him." That was the moment the galaxy made its second mistake. It underestimated what humans would do for family. The military began deploying ground units. Dropships descended toward the yard, weapons charged but unused. They still believed humans could be controlled. Taron opened the core interface. "What are you doing?" Nyra asked. "Letting the system decide," he replied. Alien technology waited for instructions. Human technology learned from intention. The quantum processor pulsed, reacting not just to commands but to Taron's emotional state: stress, determination, protection. The system adapted. Salvage drones repositioned themselves automatically. Defensive fields activated in patterns no military algorithm predicted. Machines communicated without orders. "They're thinking," Nyra whispered. "They're learning," Taron corrected. The first dropship attempted to land. It didn't crash. It simply stopped. Its systems froze, confused by feedback loops they had never experienced. The ship hovered helplessly before retreating. Command officers stared in disbelief. "This is not possible," one said. "No," another replied slowly. "This is human." Inside the workshop, Nyra suddenly gasped. Taron turned instantly. "What's wrong?" "The baby," she said. "I can feel him." Her neural interface spiked with energy. The diagnostic display flared bright blue. The child's bioelectric field surged outward, syncing with the quantum processor. The machines responded. Not aggressively. Protectively. Across the yard, every system aligned around one point. "Nyra." The military noticed. "All units pull back," a voice ordered. "We are losing system control." Too late. The salvage yard became something else. Not a weapon. A living network. Taron felt it, the hum in the floor, the rhythm in the air, machines breathing together like a single organism. "They're afraid now," Nyra said quietly. "Yes," Taron replied, "because they don't understand." Another transmission came through, this one less confident. "We propose negotiation." Taron smiled grimly. Now they wanted to talk. "You threatened my family," he said into the channel. "That ends the conversation." The quantum processor flared again. Defensive fields expanded, pushing the military perimeter back without firing a single shot. No violence, just dominance through adaptation. The galaxy watched as its most advanced fleet was forced to retreat from a scrapyard built by a human mechanic. News spread fast. Not of a battle. Of humiliation. Humans had not attacked. They had not destroyed. They had simply refused to be controlled. And worse, their technology had listened to their emotions. High Command issued emergency protocols. Humans were reclassified. Not as a minor species. Not as scavengers. But as a strategic risk. Inside the workshop, Taron shut down the active defenses. Silence returned. Nyra leaned against him, steady on her legs. "This isn't over," she said. "No," Taron agreed. "Now it's real." She looked up at him, her expression fierce and calm. "They will come back stronger." Taron placed his hand over hers, over their child. "So will we." Outside, the last military cruiser jumped to hyperspace, leaving the salvage yard untouched. But the galaxy would remember this day. The day fear changed sides. The day humans stopped being ignored. And the day everyone learned the most dangerous thing in the universe was not a weapon. It was a human who had something to protect. You threatened the wrong species. The galaxy believed power came from size. Big fleets, big weapons, big empires. Humans believed power came from something else. Choice. After the military fleet retreated from New Alexandria, silence fell across the salvage yard. Not peaceful silence, waiting silence. The kind that comes before something decides what it will become. Taron Shivers stood on the roof of his workshop, watching the sky where the cruisers had vanished. His face was calm, but his mind was already moving forward. Humans never waited for the second strike. They prepared for it. Below him, the salvage yard looked ordinary again. Rusted ships, broken machines, dead metal, but Taron knew better. Nothing here was dead. Every piece of scrap had been rewired. Every forgotten system now listened. The yard was no longer a place of leftovers. It was a shield. Inside the workshop, Nyra moved carefully across the floor. Her steps were smooth, natural, confident. 11 years ago, she had believed she would never walk again. Now she walked while carrying a child the galaxy feared. She paused, placing a hand on her abdomen. "He's restless," she said when Taron entered. Taron knelt beside her, checking the neural readings on his tablet. The baby's bioelectric signal flowed through the system like a steady pulse. "He feels the tension," Taron said. "Smart kid." Nyra smiled faintly, or stubborn like his father. Outside New Alexandria, the galaxy reacted. Emergency meetings replaced routine trade. Military commanders argued with scientists. Politicians demanded answers. How did a human mechanic overpower our systems? Why did our machines listen to him? What happens when more humans do this? Those were the wrong questions. The right question was simpler. Why did humans never stop adapting? On a distant command station, a senior officer finally said what no one wanted to admit. "We made a mistake, we didn't scare them." Fear worked on most species. Humans responded to fear by getting creative. Back on New Alexandria, the second message arrived. This one was different. No threats, no orders. An offer. Funding, protection, recognition, a legal framework. All Taron had to do was hand over the technology. Nyra read the message slowly. "They want control," she said. "They always do." Taron replied. She looked at him. "What happens if we say no?" Taron didn't answer right away. He walked to the window and looked out at the salvage yard, the place where discarded things became useful again. "They won't stop," he said. "They'll just change tactics." That night, Nyra dreamed. Not of fear, not of war. She dreamed of walking freely across open ground, her child laughing as machines moved gently around them. A future where technology served life, not power. She woke with a decision already made. "We don't run," she said to Taron the next morning, "and we don't hide." Taron nodded. "We build." They worked without rest. Not on weapons. On stability. They improved the neural interface, not to fight, but to protect. The system learned how to shield itself, how to isolate threats, how to shut down hostile signals without harming anyone. Human technology did not destroy. It refused cooperation. The baby's bioelectric field became part of the system's logic. The machines adapted around it, prioritizing life. When the military returned, they came quietly. No fleet, no threats. A single diplomatic ship. The representative who stepped into the yard was calm, controlled, and clearly nervous. "You have something the galaxy cannot ignore," he said. Nyra stood beside Taron, steady on her legs. "We know," she replied. "You are changing how technology behaves." "We're changing who it serves," Taron corrected. The representative hesitated. "The galaxy fears what it cannot control." Taron smiled slightly. Then it should learn something new. Negotiations lasted hours. Humans refused exclusivity, refused military ownership, refused secrecy. They offered something else. Open access, ethical limits, shared growth. A system that learned from people instead of ruling them. The representative finally understood. "You are not trying to dominate," he said. "No," Nyra replied, "we're trying to live." The agreement that followed shocked the galaxy. The technology would be released. Controlled by no empire. Protected by transparency. The military left without victory. But also without defeat. That outcome confused them more than loss ever could. As the sun set over New Alexandria, Nyra walked the length of the salvage yard. Taron followed, watching her move with confidence and grace. "They'll never see us the same way again," she said. "Good," Taron replied. "We weren't comfortable being underestimated." She stopped and turned to him. "They threatened us," she said quietly. "They threatened our child." Taron took her hand. "And they learned something," he said. "Never threaten humans when they have something to protect." Above them, the stars shone brighter than before. The galaxy was still dangerous, still uncertain. But one truth had become clear. Humans were no longer the weakest species. They were the most unpredictable. And the galaxy would think very carefully before making the same mistake again. Fear was never enough. The galaxy tried fear. It failed. So now it tried patience. Weeks passed after the retreat from New Alexandria. No fleets returned. No messages arrived. Trade routes reopened. News channels moved on to other crises. To most species, that meant safety. To humans, it meant preparation. Taron Shivers did not trust silence. He stood in the control room of the salvage yard, watching quiet sensor readings scroll across the screens. No hostile signals, no military scans. "Too clean." "They're waiting," he said. Nyra stood nearby, one hand resting on her growing belly. Her movements were calm, but her senses had sharpened since the pregnancy. The baby's bioelectric field made her more aware of the systems around her. "I feel it too," she said. "The machines are alert." Human-built machines did not relax. They watched. Across the galaxy, fear had changed shape. Military leaders no longer talked about destroying the technology. That had proven too risky. Instead, they asked a new question. What if humans spread it? The idea terrified them more than war. Adaptive systems that learned from emotion, technology that refused control, machines that protected families instead of empires. If humans shared this freely, power would shift. That could not be allowed. So the galaxy chose a softer weapon. Influence. A civilian delegation arrived at New Alexandria. No uniforms, no weapons, just smiles and promises. "We come in peace," they said. Taron did not smile back. They offered investment, education programs, medical grants, a future partnership. All legal, all polite. All conditional. "We only ask for oversight," the lead delegate said, "to ensure safety." Nyra listened carefully. "Safety for whom?" she asked. The delegate hesitated. "For everyone," he said. Humans recognized vague answers. "We'll think about it," Taron said. The delegation left confident. They believed humans could be convinced. They did not understand something simple. Humans did not fear losing comfort. They feared losing choice. That night, the systems detected the first intrusion. Not an attack. A test. Foreign code brushed against the quantum network, probing gently, looking for doors left unlocked. The system responded by learning the intrusion pattern, then closing itself. Quietly, Taron watched the replay. "They're trying to slip inside," he said. Nyra's breathing slowed. The baby's signal pulsed stronger. "They won't get close," she said. But the galaxy did not stop. Civilian protests began appearing on news feeds, stories questioning the safety of human tech, rumors about hybrid children being dangerous. Fear again, but this time spread through words. The galaxy hoped humans would retreat under pressure. They didn't. Instead, Taron released the first public demonstration. A small broadcast, no speeches, no threats. Just a woman walking. Nyra stepped forward on screen, moving smoothly, confidently. She told her story: the accident, the chair, the silence of corporations. Then she showed the legs. "I walk because a human refused to accept impossible," she said. "This technology belongs to people like me." Millions watched. The reaction was immediate. Disabled workers, injured soldiers, forgotten citizens. Hope spread faster than fear. The galaxy panicked. Influence failed. So the galaxy made its third mistake. They tried to isolate humans. Trade restrictions appeared, supplies delayed, medical shipments rerouted. New Alexandria felt the pressure. Nyra noticed it first. "They think they can starve us," she said. Taron nodded. "They think wrong." Humans had survived worse. The salvage yard adapted. Old reactors powered new farms. Broken ships became shelters. The community grew stronger under pressure. Other humans arrived. Engineers, doctors, families. People who believed. The galaxy watched something terrifying unfold. Humans were not dividing. They were gathering. Then came the warning signal. A deep space weapon test, far away but close enough to be felt. A message followed. "Stand down, this is your final notice." Nyra felt the baby react sharply. The bioelectric field surged, rippling through the systems. Taron grabbed the console. The machines did not panic. They synchronized. The quantum network expanded, linking every adaptive system across the settlement. "What are they doing?" Nyra asked. "They're choosing," Taron said quietly. The galaxy fired the test weapon. Not at New Alexandria. Near it. The shockwave rolled through space. Human systems absorbed it. Adapted. Learned. Military analysts stared in disbelief. The weapon had revealed more than it destroyed. Human tech now understood it. Fear had failed. Isolation had failed. Pressure had failed. The galaxy had one realization left. Humans were no longer reacting. They were leading. Nyra placed her hand over Taron's. "They will come again," she said, "not with words." Taron nodded. "Then they'll learn the last lesson." Outside, the settlement glowed with quiet energy. Machines hummed in harmony. People moved with purpose. The child shifted inside Nyra, strong and alive. Fear had never been enough. Not for humans. And soon, the galaxy would understand why. When humans stopped asking, the galaxy finally understood something. Humans were no longer asking. For weeks, warnings had been sent, sanctions applied, signals jammed, threats disguised as diplomacy. Every method the galaxy used to control smaller species had been tried. Nothing worked, because humans were not trying to win an argument. They were trying to protect a future. On New Alexandria, the night sky looked calm. Too calm, no ships, no signals, no noise. Taron Shivers stood in the central control hub, eyes fixed on long-range sensors. His jaw was tight. This kind of silence was never peaceful. "It's coming," he said. Nyra stood beside him, steady on her legs despite the weight she carried. Her pregnancy had reached its final stage. The baby's bioelectric field now flowed constantly through the quantum network. The machines felt alive. "They're hiding their move," she said. "Yes," Taron replied, "which means it's not small." Far beyond the system, the galaxy prepared its final solution. Not soldiers. Not fleets. A shutdown protocol. A signal designed to collapse all adaptive technology at once, to reset machines to obedience, to turn learning systems into empty shells. It was meant to be clean. Humans would be helpless without their creations. High Command approved it. The signal fired. Across space, it spread like a silent wave. On New Alexandria, alarms finally screamed. The quantum processor flared bright white. Taron's hands moved instantly over the console. "System response is changing," he said. "Not failing. Changing." Nyra gasped, gripping the edge of the table as the baby's signal spiked hard. "He's reacting," she said. "He's connecting." The shutdown wave hit. Alien systems across nearby sectors went dark. Human systems did not. They resisted, then adapted. The quantum network absorbed the signal, broke it down, and learned from it. The baby's bioelectric field acted like a bridge, stabilizing the process. "What's happening?" Nyra asked, breathing hard. "The system is no longer just mine," Taron said in awe. "It's ours, all of us." The machines rewrote their own foundations. They no longer depended on external rules. They depended on human intention. The galaxy watched in horror as data streamed back. The shutdown had failed. Worse, human systems now understood how to resist it permanently. "That's impossible," a commander whispered. "No," another replied quietly, "that's human." On New Alexandria, the air felt heavy, charged, alive. The quantum network expanded beyond the settlement, touching dormant salvage, old satellites, forgotten relays. Everything connected. Not as weapons, as protection. Dropships appeared in orbit without warning. This time, they did not hesitate. They descended fast. Weapons armed. "This is it," Nyra said. Taron turned to her. "You need to sit," he said gently. She shook her head. "No, I stand." The doors burst open. Armed units rushed in, weapons raised. Then stopped. Their systems froze, displays flickered, commands refused to execute. The soldiers stared at their weapons in confusion. The machines had chosen. Taron stepped forward. "You should leave," he said calmly. "You don't have authority," one officer snapped. Taron gestured around the room. "I don't need it." The building hummed softly. The quantum network pressed outward, not violently but firmly. The soldiers retreated. Above the planet, ships began losing formation, systems confused by feedback loops they could not override. A final transmission came through, panicked and desperate. "Human settlement cease immediately. This is an act of war." Taron responded for the first time. "No," he said, "this is an act of defense." Nyra cried out suddenly. The baby's signal surged stronger than ever. Taron rushed to her side. "It's time," she said through clenched teeth. "He's coming." The timing shocked even Taron. The child was responding to the crisis. The birth began as the settlement held its breath. In the private medical chamber, surrounded by softly glowing systems, Nyra remained standing. The neural interface supported her perfectly, adapting with every movement. The baby's bioelectric field synchronized fully with the quantum processor. The entire network stabilized. Outside, military ships began powering down voluntarily. Not forced. Released. The birth ended with a cry that echoed through every connected system. A living signal. The machines quieted. The war stopped. Taron held his son, stunned. The galaxy's final weapon had not been defeated by force. It had been made irrelevant. Hours later, silence returned. Real silence. No threats, no warnings. Just distance. Nyra rested, holding their child. They tried everything, she whispered. Taron nodded. And learned too late. Outside the window, the stars looked the same. But the galaxy was not. Because when humans stopped asking, they started deciding. And the universe had no choice but to listen. Why the galaxy will never forget humans. The war did not end with a victory parade. It ended with understanding. Across the galaxy, command rooms stayed quiet. Screens showed no alerts, no warnings, no enemy signals. The silence was different now, heavy, thoughtful. Because the galaxy had finally learned something it could not ignore. Humans were not dangerous because of their weapons. They were dangerous because they changed everything they touched. On New Alexandria, morning light spread across the salvage yard where it had all begun. The same piles of broken ships, the same dust and metal, but the place no longer felt forgotten. It felt alive. Taron Shivers stood near the window of the medical wing, holding his newborn son carefully. The child was small, calm, and strangely aware. His skin held a soft mix of colors. His eyes were closed, but the machines around him hummed gently, as if listening. Nyra rested nearby, her breathing steady. She looked tired but peaceful. Her robotic legs stood beside the bed, quiet now, no longer needing constant adjustment. "They're stable," Taron said softly, "both of them." Nyra smiled weakly. "Of course they are." Outside the settlement, ships from many worlds waited at a respectful distance. Not military vessels, not diplomats demanding control. Observers. They had come to see what humans had become. News had spread fast. The shutdown weapon failed. The adaptive network survived. A human-alien child was born during the attack. The machines protected life instead of obeying orders. For the first time in galactic history, technology had chosen compassion. That terrified some. Inspired many. A message arrived from High Command, short, careful. "We request dialogue." Taron read it, then set the screen aside. "They're asking now," Nyra said. Taron nodded. "That matters." The meeting took place in the open yard. No walls, no weapons, just people and machines standing together. Representatives from multiple species spoke first. "You changed the balance," one said. Taron answered simply, "We showed another option." Nyra stepped forward, standing without support. "I was told I would never walk again," she said. "Because it was inconvenient, because it was expensive, because it did not fit policy." The crowd listened. "A human refused to accept that answer," she continued. "Not because he wanted power, but because he believed my life mattered." Her hand moved gently to her child, now awake and watching the world with quiet focus. "This is not a weapon," she said. "This is what happens when you let people adapt instead of controlling them." The representatives did not argue. They could not. The galaxy had seen the proof. Agreements followed, but not the kind the galaxy was used to. No ownership, no secrecy, no control. The technology would be open, shared, protected by ethics, not fear. The adaptive systems would be guided by human values and alien wisdom together. Some empires refused. They isolated themselves. Others followed. Months passed. New Alexandria changed. The salvage yard became a hub. Engineers from different worlds arrived. Disabled citizens walked again. Injured veterans returned to work. Forgotten people found purpose. Humans did not lead by command. They led by example. Taron often walked the yard with Nyra and their son, Nixon, cradled between them. The machines responded softly as they passed, recognizing him like family. "He's growing fast," Nyra said one evening, watching the child's fingers react to the gentle hum of a nearby system. "He's learning," Taron replied, "like everything else we build." Far away, military academies rewrote their textbooks. Human adaptability was now a required subject. Not as a threat profile, as a lesson. The galaxy learned new rules. Do not corner humans. Do not threaten their families. Do not underestimate their patience. And never assume they will stop improving. Years later, when asked how the war was won, historians struggled to explain it. There was no final battle. No decisive strike. No surrender. Only a moment when fear stopped working. And humans kept going. On a quiet night, under the twin suns of New Alexandria, Taron sat beside Nyra as Nixon slept peacefully. "Do you think they'll ever stop being afraid of us?" Nyra asked. Taron considered the stars. "No," he said honestly, "but they'll stop trying to control us." She smiled. "That's enough." The machines hummed softly around them. No longer tools, no longer weapons. Partners. The galaxy would remember this age not as the time humans conquered the stars, but as the moment the stars learned something new. Humans do not survive because they are the strongest. They survive because they adapt, protect, and refuse to give up. And that is why the galaxy will never forget humans. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more amazing videos.